Okay, so the group stage of Euro 2024 is now over. I'm going to quickly look at the goals per game average because it has dropped, as I predicted it may do when I did the goals per game average video after the first 7 games. So after 7 games, the goals per game average was sitting at a record high of 3.14. It has now dropped to a more realistic 2.25, but that is actually a significant drop-off from where we've been in recent tournaments. So 2020 it was at 2.78. 2016 was a low scorer, but all the way from Euro 2000 through to Euro 2012, goal scoring was higher than it is now. Now, there has been this feeling I've had where goal scoring has sort of dried up. We've had more 0-0s, more 1-0 games, and that is very noticeable, and it has impacted the goals per game average. Thank you very much, England, Slovenia. Thank you very much, Belgium. Yeah, certain nations haven't really set the world on fire with their goal scoring, and certain groups have been low scoring. So Belgium's group's been low scoring, England's group's been low scoring, impacting goals per game average. And we will discuss Belgium and England later on in this video because I'm going to be highly critical of them and I'm going to hold no bars. Not happy with how they've performed. So there's that. Now, the feel-good stories, the teams that have overperformed, the teams that have surprised us. Georgia, Slovenia, Slovakia, Romania. All feel-good stories. Austria is the big one as well. No one expected these nations to really progress. Austria maybe to get to the knockout stages and then sort of stutter out a little bit. No, they have really entertained. The Swiss have been really good. The Swiss have been really good. The Austrians have been really good. Georgia beating Portugal 2-0, keeping Ronaldo scoreless and qualifying for the knockout stages, for me, is the ultimate underdog story. So there are some real feel-good stories. Albania being very competitive in every game they played is a feel-good story for a smaller nation. Okay, they didn't win any games, but they gave it a crack. There was positivity. So these feel-good stories is what you get out of the Euros. I think Austria can be a dark horse. I think Georgia can be unpredictable with their style of football, which is just pure counter-attack and doing it at pace. And they proved that against Portugal. The Swiss, I think this could be the tournament they finally click into gear and actually go far in a tournament. Jan Sommer, the goalkeeper, deserves that. And the way they've played deserves a good push. And I think these are nations that people are sleeping on. I really, really do. So there's been some real, as I say, real good feel-good stories. I mean, Spain, well, I'm not a fan of Spain. They are a big nation as well. They've got the youngest player at the tournament and they've got a very young team that's playing a non-Spanish style. That's just pure attack and doing it at pace, and it's refreshing. It's not ticky-tacky, boring, let's cut our risk, start getting depressed. No. This is fun, this is done at pace, and they score a lot of goals. Fantastic. We've seen some worldy goals as well. We've seen some brilliant goal scoring. We've seen some brilliant play. We've seen a lot of mistakes. We've seen a lot of end-to-end action. We've seen a lot of teams, even in games which have been drawn, going for it. So the Romania-Slovakia game I watched yesterday, both sides were going for it in a thunderstorm on a dodgy pitch. They didn't want it to stay 1-1. Both sides realised a win would definitely guarantee safe passage. A loss would most likely guarantee they're going home. They went for it, and it was refreshing to see. And then we get to the teams that more was expected of that are not playing to the standard that is expected, considering the players that are in these squads. Belgium, booed off. Yes, Belgium got booed off as well. Not just England getting booed off. Belgium got booed off. How many more? They've lost a game against Slovakia. Admittedly, you could argue some of the goals, but they've had a few VAR decisions go against them. But they have been so wasteful, so sloppy, and how Lukaku is still classed as an international striker is beyond me, because while he's a record goal scorer for Belgium and he seems to be, he can be hit and miss at club level, he's been dreadful. De Bruyne has not played like how people expect De Bruyne to play, but I don't think De Bruyne is ever fully fit. He always seems to be miserable. Belgium have been booed and their fans are pissed off, and rightly so. Rightly so. They limped into the knockout stages. Limped. Whereas Romania and Slovakia in their final game were going hammer and tongs and going end to end and really going for it. And both goalkeepers pulling off saves. And Belgium, Jesus, booed off. So when people talk about England getting booed off against Slovenia the other night, and the media focusing on that, I think the British media has this weird obsession about attacking and being toxic towards our own players, teams and coaches and our fans. Yeah, I hate the British mainstream media. I don't know how the Belgian media is picking up the fans' reaction to how the team are performing. It'll be interesting to hear from Belgian fans if at home in Belgium, or if you've been to the games and if you follow the Belgian sports media, how their response is to how the team is playing, because the boos towards the players just walked away from the fans. They left the field very very quickly, very quickly. Italy have been a bit hit and miss, but that comeback against, scoring literally the last kick of the game to guarantee um, um, progression to the next round. That was a passion that I think England are lacking. Yes, so England, like Belgium, have underperformed, been booed off, and I discussed a separate video after two games with England, discussing some of the poor selection of players, the players playing in the wrong positions that don't suit their strengths, that are actually weakening the team, and Gareth Southgate tactically not setting the world on fire. I've never been sold on Southgate. I think he got lucky in 2018 and 2020, although there was some positivity. I actually felt we played better in 2022 than we did in 2020 and 2018, but you could definitely see that there was a turnaround, and he built a foundation that the next coach should have taken on. I think he stayed on a tournament or two too long. I think that's fair. I think he has stayed in the role a few years too long, and I think the press conferences been given are not filling me with confidence as a sports fan in general. And I think he's lost the fan base, and I think he's potentially lost the dressing room of the players. Who takes a player on an international tournament to an international tournament who's not fit? He's done this more than once. He repeatedly does this. He's done it with Luke Shaw again, which means we don't actually have an out-and-out left-back. We're playing Trippier at left-back who's not fully fit because he keeps having a calf problem, and there is no one else really to fill in there at all, which is worrying. So, yeah, we'll leave that for discussion. Holland, I'm not sold on this Dutch side winning anything. How they managed to get to a World Cup semi-final with a similar group of players, I think with mostly the same players, is beyond me. But insipid. I've not enjoyed watching the Dutch games at all. And the French I'm not sold on either. I think that the Holland-France game, which was a 0-0, was one of the worst games of the tournament. And I wasn't sold on either side then. They were really, really both poor. Considering the players they have available and the talent that's available to them, I was just, how can managers make world-class players look like Sunday League players is not positive at all. So some of the nations that have really underperformed, yet have managed to make the knockout stages: England, Belgium, Holland, the French, and Portugal. I'm not sold on. That loss to Georgia is going to hurt because they were kept goalless. Ronaldo's had flashes of a bit of skill, but they're refusing to pass to him. It's very noticeable. It imbalances the side. Italy, I'm a little bit uncertain of, but Italy have proven before they can have a shaky group stage and then get some momentum going and suddenly do things. And for them to get to the knockout stages is important. They avoid a very, very awkward record where the holders get knocked out in the group stage in the following tournament. That's a record they didn't want. And finally, the host Germany. The atmosphere at games has been fantastic. Very little trouble, which was a massive concern going into this tournament, considering some of the issues we saw at Euro 2020 and in the World Cup in 2014, and some issues we saw at the Euros in 2016. In recent tournaments, there's been an upsurge in fan disorder, or hooligan and ultra disorder is a good way to look at it. Very few incidents, mostly to do with the Serbians, ironically, and they're going home because they were absolutely dreadful. But the host Germany, fantastic hosts. Oh, and it does help that the hosts are playing well as well. The crowds have been brilliant. The atmosphere outside stadiums has been brilliant. The reporting has been a real positive bonding, mostly on social media. The mainstream media isn't covering the positivity between all the fan groups coming together and having fun in town squares, in fan zones, in city centres, drinking together, socialising together, celebrating and commiserating together. The media wants to go, oh, disorder. The mainstream media is toxic. Do not listen to it. They want to paint a negative picture of British fans. Scottish fans were brilliant. For the most part, England fans have been brilliant. So I don't have a lot of respect for the mainstream media when it comes to sports reporting. They like to paint a picture that's a false narrative about our fans. Our fans have been brilliant. The fans of Germany and Poland, no disorder there at all, which was a fear. You know, the only issues we've had is with a few, Serbian ultras and a few Albanian ultras clashing, and a few Croatian ultras clashing. Other than that, for the most part, the fans have been brilliant. There's been a little bit of disorder between Georgia and Turkey, and there is a few historical reasons for that in the stadium. But again, for the most part, the fans, it has been brilliant. You've seen fans from all the countries come together, watching games together in the fan zones, socialising and having fun. So that's something that I think needs to be talked more about, and this is why I don't like the mainstream media at times. Just do not trust the mainstream media. But thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below. I want to hear from fans of all the nations that are playing at Euro 2024, how you feel the nations are doing. And let's see what the round of 16 brings us. But from me for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.